Hello, guys. Welcome on in to the live. So I'm doing just get rid of that double playback there. So we're going to be doing a live listening party today to my interview with UK Health Radio. Hopefully it's all going to work with all the tech. Jump for
Hello and welcome to the Healthy Debate Show on UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Belinda Walia, and thank you for joining us today for what I know will be a truly inspiring and thought-provoking conversation. Our guest is someone who embodies resilience, creativity, and a deep commitment to helping others rise. Alison McRobbie is a multi-business owner, award-winning author, and an advocate for disabled and neurodivergent entrepreneurs. Through her journey, she's shown how it's possible not only to navigate challenges, but to transform them into opportunities that serve both yourself and your community. Alison, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Could you start by telling us a little about yourself, your background, and the work you do today?
Hello, Belinda. Thank you so much for having me on and asking me these wonderful questions. Yes, how did I first get started? Well, I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in business for a long time, actually, and in between being an entrepreneur and having children and a family life, I've taken employment, as we all do. And lastly, it did not work out very well with me because of Guys, has the sound gone? Because I'm streaming this through something else. Are you? Has the sound gone? Because I'm streaming this through something else. Are you? So I can all hear that. Okay, so let me do it like this. Hang on. I've been in business for a long time, actually, and in between being an entrepreneur and having children and family life, I've taken employment, as we all do. And lastly, it did not work out very well with me because of my disability, and that really formulated kind of a bit of a movement, I think, that is happening today with helping people who have disabilities or people who are recognised or self-recognised as being neurodivergent, be more successful in themselves rather than being told that they can't do something. So I'm engaged in a number of different things, which I'm sure we'll hear about in this interview to find out a little bit more.
And thank you for sharing that. So let's go back to where it all began. How old were you when you started your first business? And what made you want to become an entrepreneur so early on?
So my first experience of business was when I was about 21. I used to live in Glastonbury, which is a very colourful village. And at the time when I lived there, it was basically a village full of artists, studios, people making pottery, candles. And I was actually working with a goldsmith, creating and making handcrafted silver and gold jewellery. And I used to make velvet and beaded wall hangings for temples, you know, from learning just home economics and so on at school, to that went from that to making wall hangings for temples. Now, two pictures, when I look back really of my life, if I was to look at my life as a snapshot, two pictures really pushed me into business. So first of all, artists. All the artists around me, very creative people, and artisans living off their craft. So living off, you know, what they did, they created their own income compared to my own mother. So my mother was, we used to work full time as a PA. She was divorced, and eventually, even though she worked full time and earned a good salary, she lost our family home in the recession. Unfortunately, you know, one thing led to another. My mother's had a breakdown, and she lost everything. And I realised at that time the value that is just not put on people. Employers do not seem to value people, and they seem to value their health even less. And most of all, it made my mother really unhappy, and of course, the family really, really unhappy. So for me, it was a big eye-opener, and I was obviously young then, you know, I'm in my 50s now, but then I was in my 20s, and I just bet on my own value. So selling my own jewellery, creating something and being able to create my own income gave me independence, and it gave me choices where my mother just did not seem to have any. In fact, her choices were taken away from her. So it was really about self-validation as well. So I did not want to struggle like my mother had struggled, even though she was qualified and had experience. So that was really the first step for me. And then at a certain point, I wanted to go to university. My mother couldn't afford to send me to university at the time or contribute towards it. My father didn't contribute towards it. And in the end, I put myself through Open University years later. Whilst I was a parent, I've become a parent. Unfortunately, two children, I say unfortunately because I was doing it single-handedly, whilst working a part-time job. So yeah, and then that took me into the online world because I did all of my degree online, and it kind of just went into a different dimension at that point.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, that's so inspiring, and it really speaks to us about your drive and your courage, because you didn't let life define you in any negative aspect. Instead, you thrived from it and you built a life that unfolded beautifully, even with those challenges. And when challenges like a recession appear, of course, it can make people go the opposite direction and spiral into negativity. And it's so inspiring to hear you went in the opposite direction. So tell us about the moment you first discovered or were diagnosed with a disability. How did that shape the way you approached life and work?
Well, some people obviously have a disability from birth. I unfortunately, my disability came around in 2018. So I was driven into it in a car crash. I was actually just going off to school. I used to work as a teacher then. So I was going off to school and I thought, I'm just going to pop to Poundland and get some glitter. We were making like Christmas cards, it's that time of the year. So that was the morning I got driven into at 60 miles an hour across a junction, which gave me a physical disability in a few areas, but predominantly in my knee, my neck and my right hand. And other things, I couldn't put weight on my knee. And at that time, I used to illustrate a lot of books on Amazon for a children's bilingual book range that I founded. And I had to stop doing that because I couldn't, overstress my hand or hold pens and do all sorts of things in the way that I'd done previously. So that is the first time I discovered the physical disability. And then when I was working for my last employer, which was in like the 2020s, I actually got assaulted at work and I was diagnosed with PTSD, adjustment disorder, and then obviously stress, depression, all those sort of byproducts that go with it as well. So I actually was then diagnosed with a mental health disability alongside the one that I already had. So yeah, that's when I was, those sort of life changes happened, and then I obviously had full diagnoses that confirmed, obviously what these things were.
It's amazing that you managed to show the opposite to your journey. Many people might see disability as a barrier, but your journey shows the opposite. So what helped you turn that challenge into fuel for growth?
There are a number of things. So first of all, I lost my husband. So I was at this time a single parent with one income coming in. As soon as my car crash happened, I literally lost my income overnight because I had a teaching company that went into schools. So I was having to refund like a whole term of language classes at that time to parents. The schools weren't very happy about it. Unfortunately, children can be ill, but when it's teachers, the schools definitely weren't very tolerant. And it was kind of the unknown as well, because I didn't know how long, if this was going to get better, the injuries I had, or how long they were going to take, or how it would impact me. But following my crash, I could not kneel or put any weight on my right knee. So previously, I would be teaching like play school children, primary school children, and you have to be physically able to do, to a certain level to do that sort of job. And I also have my own children. So at the time of my crash happening, I was like the Tin Woman in my house. I could not bend. I couldn't even lift something out of the oven. And we lived for about 5 months with just a microwave on the side, because I couldn't even do lots of things in the kitchen. And I made adaptations in my home, or paid to have adaptations, I would say, in my home. And I went through a very well-known online builders merchants, and unfortunately I kind of got a bit ripped off there. So I was finding myself with hardly any income, not able to move, half of my kitchen ripped up, trying to look after my 2 children single-handedly and work out what on earth am I going to do for income with my business. So I had to basically take what I had and try and make it work. And I had very serious concussion, so I was like a long time lying down in bed. And just to give you, if anyone's not had this, to give you an impact of what it was like, I had to lie literally in my bedroom with my curtains closed. And if I tried to lift my head up off the pillow, it was like I had a full-size metal football in my head that would come crashing down to the front of my head. The pain was just something I've never experienced. And then I realized, oh my goodness, like this is really, 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 really serious. What are we going to do? How am I going to pay for everything? So I just thought, I need to try and find a way out of this. So because I'd written lots of language learning books and I'd done other things with teaching, I'd also been a resident blogger for Gingerbread for a long time, for about 2 years. So Gingerbread at that time was, or just at the time I was working for it, it was chaired by J.K. Rowling, who also wrote Harry Potter. So I knew a lot about blogging, writing, SEO, search engine optimization, all of these things. And I just thought, what can I do to turn this round? And kind of limits, I guess, became my data. So what can I do? And I got into doing online teaching. I then became an online language consultant for one of the biggest powerhouses in Beijing, which is Tutor ABC. And then I learned loads of things, and I had to obviously recruit teachers, train teachers, write Oxford training programs, all sorts of things over the good few years. And that's what led me to develop my own businesses that I had created before that time as well, but also I had to adapt outside of like teaching. And then that led me to obviously one of the things I do now, which is coaching. It's not the only thing I do, because obviously I'm in my own businesses, but that is one of the things I do as well. So I just turned this, the things I couldn't do into things that I can do. And one thing I will say with people with disabilities is that today, people with disabilities have had almost like a cultural cleansing of being told all the things that they can't do. And sometimes people with disabilities can look at certain problems and challenges in a very unique way, through a very unique lens. And that in itself is a talent, because it gives a different perspective. And when people can look at things with a different perspective, they can adopt a different mindset. And you yourself will know, Belinda, with what you do, that mindset is very powerful. If we believe that we can do something, we can change the language that we use, we can change the pattern in our brains. And those are the first things that help us take actions or change behaviors that are going to take actions or make you take actions. So that's really what I did, I suppose, if I look at it. But I didn't have a choice, because I was going to starve and I would be homeless otherwise. So I had no choice. I had to find a way.
And that's absolutely amazing. And I'm so grateful for you sharing this, because life has a way of testing the limits of our resilience, and only a few can actually better themselves. But you, as a single mother, navigating the storm of challenges with no regular income, and then not letting it actually take over your life with that. Again, I'm saying the word negativity, because that storm is so challenging for a lot of people, and they don't know how to start from zero. And you did exactly that. So thank you so much, Alison. What a powerful conversation so far. We'll continue in just a moment, but first let's take a short break for a word from our sponsors.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Right, guys, I might whip this forward a little bit.
If you see the letter AIDA, immediately think of the opera by Verdi.
Do you? I don't know.
AIDA is also an advertised.
Right, let's scoot to the good bit.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
So guys, if you've just joined, this is my interview.
Welcome
on
back to the Healthy Debate Show on UK Health Radio. I'm Belinda Walia, and today we're hearing incredible insights from Alison McRobbie about resilience, entrepreneurship, and inclusive success. Welcome back, Alison.
Hello, Belinda. Hello again. Thank you for having me.
And before the break, we were talking about your journey and how really it's so inspiring, even after the accident and having the disability, but not letting that define you. You didn't use it as a barrier. You didn't allow those limiting beliefs to take over. You just worked your way through that storm, because I know you said you had to. Being a single mother, it's not easy. It does take a lot of work. Can you tell us, has your experience with disability influenced the way you lead, make decisions, or run your business day to day?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, over the years, obviously I genuinely enjoy building businesses, and although it's a challenge, I find that it is an easier challenge than overcoming obviously challenges in employment, and I will come on to that in a moment. I've built businesses and companies from scratch, from 4 continents, through recessions, currency swings, COVID, obviously personal loss and illness. So for me, a blank business plan no longer signals risk, really. It's headroom. But motivation and discipline is not enough to be successful. You do have to learn the skills. Now, obviously, I've learned from the University of Life, fact. But I have also, I mean, what we're seeing here is a snippet of 20 years of life learning that enabled me, or 30 years, I would say, of business life learning to enable me to do things differently with my disability. And I would credit the Open University with a lot of that. Being able to learn remotely opened up a lot of possibilities for me, and being able to work remotely opened up a lot of possibilities for me. And when people have disabilities, what they need are possibilities to help them with their disability. And I know we hear a lot in the press about disabled people being given opportunity, but I don't think a lot of them are really being given opportunity. They're being forced into jobs where they're not really being given a lot of upskilling or taught skills that are going to be helpful and adaptable for them as a disabled person. So, for example, I create online businesses and I coach in this sector because it allows me to self-manage my own conditions. I can manage my own diary. I can manage how I do things in the day, when I'm going to have a lunch break, any treatments I need. And it also helps me manage my income. Now, when you're disabled, income is really important because you haven't got anyone else to rely on. Mm-hmm. Lots of people don't want to be relying on disability benefits. And there is a narrative definitely in this country that people are dependent on it. Again, they're not. It's because they're scared of what will happen to them if they want to try and, do something at work and it doesn't work out. Now, I'm very mindful of my time and I make all of my decisions based really on data. So I run online first, data first, and definitely drama last. Now, when you work in, I would say, a traditional workplace where there is an employer, you're obviously going to have people. Lots of people today do not understand disability. I don't know how many times I've heard mental health matters, talk about mental health. Okay, well, when I told people I had PTSD and other things, I used to see people in my workplace, and I used to work for an organisation, by the way, that it was their job to support disabled people. I used to see them recoil back from me, honestly, like I had the plague. Well, you see that and you feel that. That is almost like an invisible form of discrimination in itself. And that spikes stress. So people, processes, projects, they will then start to be removed from you when you're at work. And it can be really, really complex. And it's something when you work for yourself, you don't have to contend with, because you can ring fence that. You can ring fence that attitude. You can block it if it's on social media. You can choose not to work with that contractor. You can remove that client if they're being inappropriate. And you are then spending less time dealing and solving other people's bad attitudes and bad behaviours, and you can focus more on you. So your output is genuinely a lot better, you're more productive, and you've got more energy to focus on you and your health. And that, for me, just has to be a win-win. So in my company, I will always look to outsource or, engage with people, firstly, who have disabilities or neurodivergence before I will ask somebody else. And that is a conscious decision that I make in my business, because I know how hard it is for people with disabilities or neurodivergence to find flexible employment or flexible self-employment or, any of that. And I will say, I do a lot of coaching that often goes into the remit of advice and advocacy, apart from business coaching. And I have had one-to-ones with people that have worked from organisations like the NHS, the police, local government, councils, and lots of these people seek me out because of the story that I've shared about my own personal story. And none of these people, by the way, have ever met each other, obviously, because they're in a one-to-one consultation with me. They don't know about each other's stories. They don't know who they work for. The minute these people have sought help for their disabilities or neurodivergence, they're outed. They are literally outed from work. The same thing happened to me. And I could cut, copy and paste exactly what one of these people would tell me, and it would be identical for the other. So we have a rhetoric in this UK of removing disabled people from the workplace, which really does contradict everything that we are told. The minute people say they have a disability, the minute people say they have a neurodivergence and they need reasonable adjustments or adaptations, although we are told, okay, we will help you, behind that, there are, oh, you're not being as productive as you used to, oh, your behaviour is a bit challenging, oh, you want to work from home, that doesn't fit in with the business narrative. And that is really why lots of disabled people, I think today, are reluctant to put themselves in that situation, because nobody wants to deal with, stress to the point of a tribunal, losing your job, getting fired. It's just a whole different ball game.
And that's amazing. And what's so inspiring is how you've taken that hard truth and turned it into action by creating a way of working where you can protect your space and other people's space now. And to me, that's so powerful. And by doing that, you're actually helping people in so many ways, especially in the emotional and mental health category as well. And the energy you give and dedication is phenomenal as well. But could you share a moment where you saw a client where something you offered helped them realize their potential, especially if you navigating business and help coaching them while managing their neurodivergence and disability?
Yes, so what a lot of people struggle with is, with an online business in particular, is having a correct framework, right? So having a framework that is strategic, that is formulated, that is like, this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. But actually in the online world, there's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of stuff that you're taught that you don't need to know, from not always, but from people that haven't got online businesses or haven't had businesses that failed, right? You learn a lot from businesses that fail. So one of my customers recently, she's actually just been featured in 4 national newspapers as well. She's only been working with me for 7 weeks, which is insane when you think of after 7 weeks, because of the story she has been telling, because of the coaching that we've had, and the positioning that I've helped her build with her business, her whole world has changed. So this person actually has a physical disability, and she dug herself out of £120,000 worth of debt whilst being disabled, And that debt also included being debt-free in her home. So her condition, her physical condition, meant that she could not carry on working at work. Again, because she needed reasonable adjustments, that has been incredibly complex, and there is another situation that she's having to navigate RE employment tribunals because of that. So we have a person here who is disabled, has tried to activate their disability rights like I tried to, and as soon as they have done at work, they are then met with all sorts of issues. Because she had this prior experience, right, this prior life experience of removing, taking herself out of £120 worth of debt, she came to me and said, Ellie, I have this situation. This is my situation at work. This is what I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. How can I make money from this? Because I need to make some income, or I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I don't know how I'm going to, live my life. We generated a plan for her, and this is something I call the 365 plan. And I help these people over a year, obviously mentoring. So
honestly, what you're doing is remarkable. Thank you so much, Alison, for sharing so far. Let's pause briefly for a word from our sponsors. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more from Alison McRobbie.
The station that makes you feel good.
If optimizing your Norwegian Cruise Line every day is say.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Welcome back. I'm Belinda Walia, and you're listening to the Healthy Debate Show on UK Health Radio. We're continuing this inspiring conversation with Alison McRobbie. Alison, welcome back. Before the advert, I'd really like to share this with you. I really admire how you prioritize working with disabled and neurodivergent people. I know you said they're not the only people you work with, but the world needs more information and knowledge about this. I think more people need to know that they can create genuine opportunities where they can thrive and actually build from what they know, the skill sets that they know. And I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. So I'd just like to say thank you for inspiring all of us. So when someone does come to you and says, I don't think I can do this because of my diagnosis, how do you help them shift that mindset?
Okay, so it's kind of threefold. So when you break that down, first part of that is obviously often fear. People feel that they can't do things often because of fear, and that might be because of a pain threshold or a physical disability that they've got. Okay, so that might be very, very real. The second part of that fear might be they're reliant on a benefit, be it personal independence payment. And by the way, lots of people work and have businesses and they're still in receipt of personal independence payments. PIP, or personal independence payment, isn't means tested on finances, it's means tested on benefit, on finances, sorry. But lots of people are, fearful of, if I step out from the unknown, and try doing something and it doesn't work, that is a big issue for lots of people because there isn't that support mechanism there. Having someone like Liz Kendall saying, well, you won't lose your disability benefit for 3 months, that is not going to encourage people to try. It really isn't. And the assessments that people with disabilities have to go through and the rigmarole, and I would say it's almost like a form of punishment that they have to go through in order to get disability benefits, is really, really excruciating and hard and painful, and emotionally, it's just like emotional turmoil. So I change a lot of people's mindset by arming them with the legalities. Obviously, I used to work for an organisation where I'm quite well versed in this. So when people understand what they're entitled to and what the actual law says about their entitlement and what they can and they can't do, and you show it to them in black and white, then that helps. So education is always a key to success. I say that for a lot of things. So that removes some of the fear. Obviously, I can't remove fear of pain and things like that. That's for a medical clinician to do. But the other one is developing habits. So a habit will take, normally a decent habit will take about 21 days. You can teach someone something, but it's only going to become a habit if they can activate it for 21 days. So the first 2 months when I work with people, it's about developing habits from positive mindsets. And my clients reflect this not only in their own business, but they see me do it in mine. So I'm quite public about what I do. I practice what I preach and I preach what I teach. And all of my customers see that. They see my businesses and brands in activation. And, you know, they know what I'm doing works. And I think that encourages people to try. I've had disabled entrepreneurs that have cleared hundreds of £1,000s worth of debt. I've got another one of my customers that went from homeless to homeowner in 2 years. These are all businesses that people can do online, and they can do it around their health condition. So they're not having to turn up somewhere at 9 and leave at 5. They're creating a whole infrastructure and a whole environment around what is right with them, for them. And when people can do that, like physically do that, that also helps with their like changing their mindset.
That's amazing. What's brilliant about what you do is that you don't tell people to be brave, you arm them with the knowledge and you show them there's rights, there's laws, there's facts, and that's what helps dissolve that fear that you spoke about, because when people see it in black and white, as you mentioned, they do realize what they can do without risking everything. It opens the door, but sometimes it's that language as well that we our own self-talk that is a barrier. And even though we're trying to change our mindset, there's a lot of people that would argue that language is important, both our self-talk and how others are speaking to us in building that confidence and identity. So how important is language? How can people change that about themselves? That image.
Okay, okay, so our language is very important. So we have the inner language that we use to talk to ourselves, and then we have the language that we have to kind of comply with or converse with in the system. So one of my businesses is actually in messaging, and it's really important to see how people respond to this. So I see language as kind of the software that runs our own confidence, right? That's how if I was to put it into an analogy, that's what it is. So language is the lens that, for me, that decides whether I'm looking at a prison or a playground, literally. And most people see things in their own life in black and white. Sometimes we're a little bit stuck in the middle. That sometimes comes from, you know, trauma, lack of experience, depression, all sorts of different things. So inside my own head, I kind of like tiny code snippets, I would say, before big moments, one neutral sentence, repeat it twice, and that drops the physical stress a lot faster than kind of any breathing exercises and things I've tried. So let me kind of put that into practice. And I hear this a lot from disabled customers. So outside my head, words decide whether people meet me or just meet a diagnosis. So I would never say my PTSD or my anxiety or my osteoarthritis. I would say the ADHD, or I have osteoarthritis. I associate with my disability by disassociating with it and knowing that it exists and treating it for what it is. But it isn't all of me, it's a part of me. Whereas I'm accepting of my disability, because of course, or disabilities have to be, everybody has to be, we are not all defined by it. We don't have to be defined by it. Now, I say this with the premise, obviously, there are some disabilities that are incredibly life-changing, that need clinical and critical care. So I am not talking about that level of a disability. I want to be very, very clear about that. But, you know, once you have a different way of seeing yourself, you are automatically putting yourself into a different power dynamic. And quite often, language alone is what changes the power dynamic, right? So, for example, in the NHS, if you work in the NHS, you're not allowed to call, a drug addict an addict. You know, they have a substance dependency. If you say to a drug addict, you have a substance misuse problem, you're there, right there with that language, you've judged them. You're saying that they are misusing a substance. Now, in our system, we have differences in language that can drive attitudes and behaviours, and then prejudices, right? And then that can then turn into further actions. So how we see ourselves depends on the language that we use, but it's also the language that other people use towards us. So that's why self-talk, self-love, and being able to emotionally compartmentalize with certain things that you don't necessarily agree with because you don't see yourself in those ways is quite powerful, because then you're more in control of the situation, your own situation, your own life. So yeah, I think that's really important, language.
I really want to say how much I respect the insight and care behind your words, because you're absolutely right. Language is so much more than just words. It's how we code our self-belief, our identity, and how we position ourselves in the world. And I love the way you describe it, like the software that determines whether we see a prison or a playground. That's such a powerful image, and it's so true. So what advice would you give to someone listening today who has a dream, a diagnosis, and a lot of doubt?
Okay, so language is, language is used by different people in different ways. So when we're talking about a diagnosis is a user manual. It's not a verdict. Okay, a diagnosis is what doctors will need to have in order to make sense of your health, in order to unlock certain treatments for you or medications for you. So for me, I read it for the clues that it is, right? So I focus on energy, sensory needs, whatever it is that you need to do to design your day around your lifestyle. And lifestyle should be something that you choose. It shouldn't necessarily be something that is dictated to you. So for example, I just think turn the dream into the tiniest shippable piece. So sell one jar of your recipe, teach one 10-minute workshop, write one LinkedIn post if you want to connect with people on social media. And what you've done is you've made little steps, but every little piece of momentum builds motivation every time. Now, when I was diagnosed with PTSD, I had nearly a year and a half of cognitive behavioral therapy. Every single planner I picked up to try and help me with this, or journal, like self-help journal, was like, do this by this hour, do that by that hour. When you're someone that's suffering with panic attacks, anxiety, social anxiety, PTSD, and depression, everything is a space. So it's like a good day or a bad day, or a nightmare day. So having an hour by hour planner is really, that can block people in itself. So I actually designed a planner, a self-help planner that actually had no times in it at all. It was actually the wardrobe technique, where people would just put the biggest problems in that top part of that top shelf, and then they'd move down, and every kind of few days they'd look at the wardrobe and they'd cross a few off and they'd move through it. But you can look at this on a flip side as well. Okay, you could, if you want to keep an hour, and if you want to really test this, you could keep an hour by hour daily planner. If you're somebody that is thinking, my diagnosis, my situation is locking me in, and if you keep an hour by hour daily planner, you will see how much time you spend in the day worrying, and you will realize that it won't change anything. Worrying won't change anything. Instead, surround yourself with positive people, surround yourself with educated people. I'm not necessarily talking about, all your friends have to have degrees, but if you're struggling with mental health, go and see a therapist. They're the biggest people, but they're going to help you the most if you're struggling with something. Surround yourself with people that make you feel good about yourself. And instead, any idea that you write down in your daily planner, if it's not acted on within 3 days, remove it, because it's just mental clutter. Talk about the things that you are most passionate about, not the things you struggle with all of the time. And this is where a lot of people go wrong when they're trying to work things through. Because language, as we've kind of discovered, is really important. If you are deliberately repatterning your brain with negative talk, even though you think you're, being cathartic and you're talking about a problem, you have to think, do I need to keep repeating the same thing? Do I have to keep, because you're just going to trigger you. It's like reliving the trauma. You don't have to do that. You just need to make small little habits, small changes. Your dream is valid. Your diagnosis is data, and doubting it is just a request for evidence. So give it evidence. Give it one real world result, and just watch all the doubt shrink. And you will move forward. You will, but you have to give yourself the chance to try.
Amazing advice. And finally, looking back on your own journey, what's one truth you now live by that you wish more people understood?
Wow. Okay, so this, when I say so many people, I'm also applying this to myself, okay? But I'm maybe at a different point in the journey to some people, and that's okay, because we can't all do things in the same way at the same time, right? But so many people go through situations in life and trauma that make them feel less than, literally. And quite often that's led by people. People have a horrible tendency to make another person feel less than. So my journey is still ongoing, right? We're always on a journey, thank goodness, and that is part of it. Nothing stays the same. Everything is fluid. For some of my customers, when they first come to me, sometimes they're really depressed, and the first thing I say to them is, do you know what? Nothing stays the same. Even the bad days, even depression, everything is fluid. So that means change is always ongoing. It's perpetual. So at the worst point in my life, the biggest change for me came from mindset. It didn't come from money. It didn't come from a job. It didn't come from I don't drive a Range Rover, I drive a Skoda actually, but if I did, people seem to attribute these things to success, happiness, changes. It wasn't. It was for me setting clear boundaries, which preserved my self-value. So I look at things like this. Change is perpetual. Nothing, even the worst day, stays fixed. So the moment you accept that, you've accepted fluidity. So you stop waiting for something to happen, but you also stop dreading things. You stop waiting for things to rescue you, and you start surfing your current, where we get this live in the present kind of motto. That's where it comes from.
And I really feel the heart in what you're saying, and I want to honor it. You're absolutely right. We are always on a journey, and thank goodness for that, because it means no feelings, no struggle, no situation is permanent. Alison, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your insights, and your generosity with us today. Where can the listeners find you? And if we can narrow it down to the main social platforms, because I know we can. Hello.
Well, guys, you know where you can find me. So there we go. Guys. I thought I would just enjoy that with you today, because that released today. Yeah, I just thought it'd be really nice. And by the way, I'm going to say the person that was interviewing me was the author of this book here. So in fact, she doesn't do herself justice. So the lady Belinda Walia is actually Dr. Belinda Walia, and she is in actual fact a psychotherapist. And she is amazing. And she wrote this book, Fix Me. She's an award-winning psychotherapist and a TEDx speaker. So she's like a friend and someone that I work with from time to time with different things in my business. But as you can see, the questions are part of everything there. So she actually wrote the questions. said, I want to ask you this and that. So I think part of the reason why I really love that interview is, like, the questions were really hard. When it came to answering the questions, I had to really, it took me ages. I had to really think about the questions. So for those of you that are also thinking podcasts or the sort of thing in your business, that is definitely part of it. But yeah, really, really thought-provoking interview. Let me know, guys, what did you think of it in the comments? Is it what you... That's not going to be the first one as well. I've been asked to go back and do another interview about different things. So I'm trying not to. We all know who I used to work for. But I'd rather not just... It's not about them, right? It's about everything else for everyone else, really. And that's really what I want to make happen, the differences and the foregrounds of what's happening. Yeah, wow, that's brilliant. I like the title. Yes, Fix Me. So how to manage anxiety and take control of your life. And I think in this niche, when it comes to dealing with health, mindfulness, right, and mental health, there are so many people, especially now, calling themselves all sorts of ADHD coaches. That, you know, being an ADHD coach, a lot of people that are saying they're ADHD coaches have no clinical or medical training whatsoever. You can literally, I know somebody that paid $5,000 for a course to do one, and they've got there's no clinical requirements at a certain level. Dr. Walia is like properly trained, registered, has all of her Belinda Walia, a dedicated psychotherapist and author and speaker, is on a mission to foster inner harmony throughout the power of self-relationship and emotional empowerment. I will say, if anyone was ever looking for a therapist, she is, you can hear by her voice, she's absolutely lovely. She's such a lovely person. And she comes from very, like, in her head, she comes from a very, very nice place, never judgmental. So really, really nice. Thank you, Sam. So her actual book as well is so great, guys. So I'm actually going to be interviewing her myself on my YouTube channel when I can get her on, because this book is so good. If you've got anxiety triggers, quick fixes for managing anxiety, and these are all from her specific frameworks, right? So these are all things that really work. Bullying and its effect on anxiety, all sorts of self-sabotaging behavior. I mean, it's just a very good book. Very, very good. So yeah, that's available on Amazon, guys. Fix Me, available on Amazon. That is scary that they pay but not study. Yes, exactly. You should always ask, always ask. I see a lot of it on TikTok, because obviously a lot of you know me from TikTok. I have a company that works with obviously lots of different people, especially in coaching for their business. And sometimes, some of my customers will require some sort of coaching. I would always refer them to Belinda, because I know she's correctly qualified. I know she's reputable, and she has all the correct medical endorsements, and she's correctly registered. So, and she's been doing it a long time. So you should always ask them, and ask them to produce their, their registration documents. They would have no problems if they're correct. Can we get it from Audible? I don't know. I don't know. It's on Amazon. I don't know if she's done it in an audio book. Let me have a little look. Let's have a look. Fix Me. She's got quite a few books that she's written, and I know she's just writing another one. I think her other book is called Psychology. And you know, you can also book her as a therapist, you know, depending on her availability, if anybody, you know, was needing that or wanting that. So let's have a little look. Oh, Denise. Hello, Denise. Oh, thank you, Denise. It's a great book. There we go. I'm a qualified therapist and recommend this book along with others. Exactly. This is the scary thing, isn't it? When we're talking about mental health, I know lots of people don't consider mental health to be ADHD, but it's still within the brain. It's still very important, and I'm shocked that people can actually call themselves. A lot of people go into ADHD coaching because of ADHD themselves, which I'm absolutely shocked at. As I said, my company, I won't entertain it at all myself. I would go, no, I'm sorry, I only do the business. I only do the business coaching and everything else, but anything clinical gets passed to or medical to properly qualified people. So no, but you know what? I'm going to send Belinda a little message afterwards and say, why don't you do it on Audible? Because I know she's got a lovely voice, and I think that helps, right? When she's got a very calming voice. It's just a very nice person, very, very nice. So yeah, so there we go, guys. Denise, what are you a therapist in, Denise? Let us know. It's always good to know what you are a therapist in. If you're willing to share, you might not be willing to share. So Karen the Brave, and for anyone else, just to let you know, you can get that on Amazon, but it doesn't Kindle. You can get it on Kindle, but you know, I don't understand. It's more on Kindle than it is on paperbacks. Just get the paperback. It won't get what you want. It's quite good. I took this to the beach today, and I was like, this is such a good book. Really interesting, and lots of little personal things that you can do for yourself. Have a little Karen. Amazon and Audible are connected. I get very distracted with my talking and holding a book, so I play them. Now, I am a big Kindle reader. I do like the actual physical books as well, but I like my books on Kindle too. I'm wondering, is there not something on Kindle where you can just play it and it just reads it for you? But I will feed that back to her. Anyway, my lovelies, I am going to love you and leave you. I just wanted to sort of celebrate this little moment with you all because it's just been released today, and listen to it. And I also wanted to point out to you the UK Health Radio. If anybody does not know about this, it is obviously the UK Health Radio. There are so many interesting like podcast interviews, people on there. And I felt very privileged because lots of the people they normally interview have got millions and millions and millions of followers, and I'm definitely not one of those people. So I felt very privileged to be able to share some of the issues that lots of people having in the world of disability, and hopefully encourage people to help try and change the narrative for themselves in a system that just seems to be absolutely fractured beyond belief. You can do it on Kindle. Thank you, Sam. So Karen, you can download it on Kindle if you have Kindle, and then you can listen to it on Kindle instead of having an audiobook. So that's cool. I have Kindle. Also, I can look it up. Yeah, I love Kindle. I am a Kindle fan, but I also love my books. I've always got to have my bookcases. I just love the books. Only with the real Kindle and not with the app. Yeah, the proper. Yeah, wonderful. Karen, if you love books, you should follow Storycraft. So Sam writes books, nice like novels on. Sam's an author, and he writes books on like historical novels, like young adult kind of fiction set in the historical Norfolk, but they've got a twist. All my books are on Kindle. There we go, a little plug there. Samuel J. White, isn't it? Samuel J. White, there we go. All on Kindle, love it. Denise, I have been a social worker for 28 years and then retrained as I am integrated integrated practitioner. Hope this helps. And I am disabled and neurodivergent. Oh my goodness me. Oh, Denise, you must like if I work with a lot, all the professionals I work with in the medical remit. Quite often I work with my company either on referral or through just like contract. So as your good self-employed. So it's always good to know. As I said, I genuinely always reach out to people who are disabled or neurodivergent within my audience or my community first before I would look further afield. Yes, that's Storycraft is Samuel J. White. Is it Sam J. White or Samuel J. White? Sam, let me just have a little look. Yes, so one of Sam's very popular books is Maria's Photograph. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this, guys. This is amazing. So let me put, if I put his, I'm not being like salesy, but if I put his link, oh my God, that's a link and a half. So that's the link from, this is the link in the chat. I don't know why it's done that 3 times, but I only did it once. On Amazon, then you can find him. Maria's Photograph, look out, she is always watching you. I love history and my friends love books. And Sam does lots of book fairs as well, which is really nice. You can go along and you can meet him, which is, I think that's really nice. And Sam also teaches people how to write their own book. So if anyone have like, I want to write a book or a series of books or what have you, that is something. Sam's a creative coach. Would you say that? A creative writing coach. So there we are as well. Yes, Samuel J. White, my bestseller is a ghost story. There we go. Maria's Photograph. That's right. That's the one I've got up here. That's a popular one, isn't it? There we go, guys. I'm both lol. Wonderful. All right, guys. It's gone 8, so I need to go because I do have a few other little bits and bobs I need to go. But anyway, you can also, as I said, listen to that and listen to loads of other interesting interviews and podcasts and things on UK Health Radio, all about really interesting people doing amazing things, even with disabilities or neurodivergence. And I just love it because it's like more of the spiritual, esoteric side of health and well-being, rather than being pigeonholed into something that most people are not anyway, right? It just suits the system, but it doesn't suit people that have actually got health conditions and disabilities. I took his name too. I've got friends in Spain. I love this. That's brilliant. Thank you. Most away from Amazon. Wow, Sam. Sam, you need to have a 1K book selling party. When you get to 1K books, you need to have a book selling party. Ali Toss, I missed the beginning. Live for a catch up. Yes. Yes, my lovely. Indeed, indeed. Right, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for coming along. Make the best of the evening. If you've got a little bit of sun where you are, don't worry. I'm not the grammar police. I hate it when people do that as well, because I've got a problem with my right hand. I'm always making typos on social media, and there's always someone there going, oh, I'm like, please go away. Again, that's the one, like I said in my interview, block, right, move on. There we go. Like, disabled people with disabilities and health conditions actually have real problems to deal with. So we don't have to be het up about people, you know, being a little bit reactionary to things that could be waved past. Agree. Have you got a cat on the lap right now? Have a great night, everybody, and I will speak to you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Have a great one, and thanks for coming along, guys. Bye bye.